Welcome in, Navigator Nation. It's going to be one of those days, I think. Oh, hey, there it is. Finally, this thing shows up. I was wondering what was going on with our logo. Now it's better. All right. Here we are. It's a Friday. We're going to have a good time today. Things do look a little bit crooked, I see, but we did a little bit more rearranging in the old basement studio here in Mucophile Studio. And it is what it is. So we're going to have a little bit of fun today. My name is Mike Hess. For those of you who are wondering, might be wondering who this oddball fella is talking about COPD and fiddling around with lighthouses and graphics and all that stuff. I am a respiratory therapist and COPD
advocate
for many years now. I have a Facebook group called COPD Navigator. I have a Twitter feed you can see at the bottom of the screen there. Also called COPD Navigator. We've got a YouTube channel. We've got all kinds of fun stuff so that we can get people connected with the information they need to be partners in their care and to live their best lives, which is particularly challenging in this time of isolation and staying at home and everything else going on. So normally, under normal circumstances, historically speaking, we do these shows every other week, generally on a Wednesday. But considering everything else that's going on, I am able to do them every day, which is nice because there's a lot of information that needs to go out there, and unfortunately, we have not always done a very good job of getting information out to.
There we go. Nobody even had to tell me this time that the sound was doubled up, so fix that. Like I said, gremlins are in the machine today. That is for sure. I appreciate everybody bearing with me as we get through this strange day of a Friday. If you haven't noticed by the various titles in the streams and all that stuff, it snowed today. Bafflingly enough, I mean, I suppose I shouldn't be too terribly surprised. It is Michigan, but and we have had some snow the last couple of days where we kind of get maybe a quarter of an inch that sticks around on the grass and then goes away. This has been a pretty solid squall all day. It's still not really sticking around too much, which is nice, but it is what it is. So, is anybody out there? Trying to figure out, did everybody give up on me? I'm not even sure. Wouldn't really blame me. It was a weird start to the program, but I am going to be here for the hour. So if people are willing and able to stick around, if you give me a second try here, hopefully we'll come back around and see some of you fine folks as we get through the day here. So this is a great time for folks to get their questions in, questions about COPD, questions about any aspect of COPD. If we have any if you have any questions about your inhalers, we can't give you medical advice, obviously, but we can give you what the best practices are. We can kind of point you on the way to connecting you with the care that you need. We'll take a spin through some of the, see if there's any interesting news in the COPD world. That has not really been the case too much lately. Hello to Brian checking in from both sides of the stethoscope. Appreciate you taking some of your Friday and hanging out with us here. Sort of a quiet crowd so far, but we'll give it some time and we'll see what happens. Let's see what's going on in the world of COPD. Of course, you know, the as I've been calling it, the elephant in the room, the novel coronavirus, this whole COVID-19 or the disease that you get from this novel coronavirus is taking up, of course, a lot of people's bandwidth right now and drawing a lot of attention. And, you know, of course, it's a big deal. Absolutely. We don't want to minimize it. Absolutely. It's been a huge strain on many parts of the healthcare system. It's been big news all over the place. But we also need to recognize that, as I've been saying, COPD doesn't take a day off. Asthma doesn't take a day off. A lot of these other conditions are still happening, even though they might not be getting the same level of attention. So we still need to be looking up for research. We still need to be spreading the news, and we still need to be doing all that stuff. Also, a great hello to my lovely wife, Kelly, who's checking in, waving from the upper level of fabulous Casa Becker Hess. Kelly has been introduced to the wonderful world of telehealth lately, and trying to get her, for those of you who may not be familiar with my lovely wife, she is a nurse practitioner that specializes in bariatric and metabolic medicine. And she was actually our first guest star, our first guest appearance on the program yesterday, where she was answering some questions about how we maintain glycemic control and all that stuff through in the face of certain supplements and things like that, particularly for those folks who may be in the hospital with that COVID-19 syndrome, disease, condition. So let's see, we've got one piece of breaking news here. Let's see what we've got going on. We've got a brand new, oh, now I have to subscribe to this? That's new. Let me see if I can get this going here. We've got a new, we're going to back up for just a second here. MP1032. This is coming from a website called COPD News Today, which is usually pretty reliable. It's a new anti-inflammatory marker or molecule that stops the formation of a particular molecule that tends to be a marker of cigarette smoke in a lung model of COPD. So this is telling us that we might have another new molecule that we can use eventually as a medication to reduce some of that chronic inflammation. So this is interesting. This would be something that looks like is absorbed orally. So this would be a pill that you take, and we don't necessarily have to worry about inhaler technique or any of that stuff. So that can be interesting. Has also shown promise in a couple of other chronic inflammatory diseases like multiple sclerosis, rheumatoid arthritis, and actually had a good safety and efficacy profile in a clinical trial for psoriasis. So this could be an interesting thing coming down the pipeline in a few years. This is, of course, a very early on. This is a very early study for this particular molecule, but it's always nice to know that there's still people paying attention to COPD and other stuff going on out there. So look for that in the next few years. Hello to Joe checking in. Appreciate Joe. It's been a very steadfast companion on these live shows. I appreciate that. Always appreciate people taking some time out of their day to hang out here in internet land, Navigator Nation. Let's see, we do a little search for COPD here. Again, a lot of stuff that we really kind of know. If you're a smoker or have COPD, you are at risk for much more severe disease with the coronavirus. A lot of this stuff is coming out with, it's all related to this big elephant in the room. So, in the meantime, what's going on in your neck of the woods? Like I said, I talked about the weather a little bit today. A rather maybe I'm exaggerating a bit, but it certainly seems like an unseasonable snowfall here in Michigan. We shouldn't be terribly surprised, I suppose, when snow starts flying around, even in April. But it does seem like this was a big one today. So. Oh, so what else we got going on? What's happening? What's new? So here's a new article in our group, which you can go onto Facebook and go to COPD Navigator. You can search for it. If you're watching this video, you may well have already found our page, and there should be a link there. So Cindy, who was a long-time member of the group and is tied in very closely with Temple University Medical Center. Temple treats first patient in the U.S. in a clinical trial of gimsiliumab for COVID-19 and acute respiratory distress syndrome. So let's take a look and see what's new in this area. So this you can tell by the lumab ending on the on the on the medication. This is one of those biologics similar to what we might see in for asthma treatment and that sort of thing. It's an injectable. So again, we're not really looking at inhaler technique or anything like that. Dr. Kreiner, who has done a lot of things with bronchoscopic interventions and all kinds of COPD research, is leading this trial. So this is an antibody that targets particular lung hyperinflation molecules. So that's cool. We've got a multi-site clinical trial that will enroll up to 270 people who have had this this condition. So again, you know, while again we're still looking at a lot of COPD stuff, and we're looking at a lot of things going on in that regard. Still got some research coming up with some of our folks who are in tune with a lot of the lung research going on here. So that's that. Kelly posts, let's post some of the best at-home exercise options, especially for those with chronic lung disease. That's an excellent idea, and I have tried to consolidate a few of those in a playlist over on YouTube. So what I'm going to do is lead off with, and I'm going to invite anybody else to put in anything that they're passionate about as far as exercise programs and things like that. I've got this playlist of let's see, I don't even remember exactly how many videos there are in it. Let's find out. Let's get to the channel. And by the way, if you wouldn't mind heading over to YouTube at some point and liking and sharing and subscribing and all that stuff, so that we can help spread the word on some of these resources. You can get all the older episodes of Breathe TV and our last couple of weeks of House Call here, as well as a couple other odds and ends. Some respiratory videos I've made. Some oh, I know one of the things that we're gonna talk about next week. I have seen some challenges over you know, throughout the YouTube area, and a lot of folks are talking about bringing back the lip sync. There's been some lip sync challenges out there and all that kind of stuff, and so that is something that we're going to be taking a look at in the next week when we come back next week live with these house calls. So here we go. Enough stalling with that. And here we go. And so what we're dropping now into the watch party, and then also into the main video feed. And taking a moment to say hello to John, checking things out here. Thanks for stopping by, John. So what we've got coming out, wherever you're watching our video here, these are, if you go to the website or if you go to YouTube, you'll see this. These are at-home pulmonary rehab ideas. Put these together actually about a year ago when we first started talking about some pulmonary rehab stuff in one of our episodes of Breathe TV, and it probably could do to go back and update some of these. But these are exercises that you can do. You know, again, we've talked, the whole reason we're doing these shows at 4 o'clock every day is because people aren't able to go to their pulmonary rehabs and things like that. They're all, you know, things are closed right now in a lot of parts of the country. Even under the best of circumstances, it can be very difficult to get to pulmonary rehab. You know, maybe you don't have a program in your area. Maybe you don't have transportation to a program. Maybe you can't afford the copay. These are all things that we see all the time. And while, again, there are some very excellent at-home options, Lift Pulmonary Rehab comes to mind. There's the Home Rehabilitation Network that comes to mind. There are some great resources out there. But again, you know, there's usually a cost involved in a lot of these things. So if you can't afford the copay, you might be out of luck a little bit. So we've got this thing going on. We've got a lot of options. And let's see if I can actually... I might even be able to get some of these to play. If we do this fancy thing here, let's see. First off, got to copy this window name. And then we're going to see if we can get this to work. Yeah, here we go. That should work. Maybe? Maybe not. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, depending on what the setting is. I think I just need to go. So at any rate, if you go to these websites, or to this website, this program, these are 20-minute things, half-hour things, stuff like that, that you can actually do from the comfort of your own home. There are things that you can, you don't need special equipment, you don't need a lot of stuff. You can just go ahead and do, let's see, I'm going to see if I can, whoops, no, we don't want to do that. So I guess I can't do that without actually restarting the whole thing. I don't want to do that. So we're going to have to, oh, I know what I do. I bet I know what else I can do, though. Because always fun to have a live show, isn't it, folks? You're getting a real insight into the world of low-intensity live television over the internet. And who doesn't love going behind the scenes, taking a peek behind the curtain, as it were. Okay, so that should be good. So these are all things that you can do at home without any kind of special equipment or any of that stuff. So now, will that work? Why does that give me like 8 different windows? Sometimes technology is just weird. That's just not going to let me run through that window, huh? Well, I did try. So in any event, we've got these videos. You can watch them. You can have some fun with them. My wife, Kelly, is also putting together some videos that we're doing. We're experimenting with some stuff kind of around the house, doing some things, doing some various exercises. Last night we did, we have a Nintendo Switch. And we did well, what we did, we brought the kids into it and had some fun with that. We had the kids do a couple of rounds of what's called Ring Fit Adventure, which is a game, you know, for those of you who may not know what the Nintendo Switch is, it's kind of a motion controlled sort of activity. And with this particular game, you strap one controller to your leg, and then you've got a thing that you hold in front of you that you can turn and twist, and it responds to pushing and pulling, so you get a little bit of a workout this way. And it's got sensors where you can make stuff happen. So we had the kids doing that, and then I played announcer and was trying to do like play-by-play since we don't have a lot of sports going on right now. Did a little play-by-play with that and had some fun with that. We've also been looking at some other videos out there. I've heard some rumors that maybe I'm going to get involved in a twerking video or a dance-off and all that kind of stuff. So these are all things that you can do to keep yourself busy, keep yourself active around the house. And that's really important because we were talking yesterday, there are a couple of those, you know, the device manufacturers and things like that, the Fitbit type things in the world. You know, we know that, you know, we aggregate a lot of that data that comes through there. And we can look at trends. And so this particular company also looks at access and things like that. We know, you know, it was telling us that like a third of people were having trouble getting into their routine care. 40 to 50% of people with chronic conditions, such as COPD, such as asthma, rheumatoid arthritis, all those things. A lot of people are seeing disruptions in care because of the coronavirus crisis and all those things going on. And on top of that, we've also seen about a 50% drop in physical activity. Now, again, this is limited sample size to the people who have the app, but if you have the app, you're probably more prone to be doing the stuff because this app actually rewards you for doing certain activities and accomplishing certain tasks. So the thought is if you are motivated to do a thing, you're probably the most likely to do it. And even that group has seen at least a 50% drop in physical activity, like walking and things like that. So we definitely need to know, or we definitely need to see improvements. I mean, we've got to be doing a better job with that, not only for physical health, but for mental health. We talked about this a little bit yesterday too. When, I know from my own self, when I am not physically active, I get crankier. Kelly's still checking us out here, so you can ask her. You can ask the kids. I get crankier. I get irritable. I get depressed. I get low. I'm frustrated. All these things going on. Not only that, because I know in myself I haven't been as active. I haven't been practicing what I preach. I've got aches and pains that I haven't felt for a while coming back on me now. I haven't had back pain in probably a year or two, especially since I've overcome some of my weight loss challenges. I woke up with lower back pain this morning. I couldn't believe it. I've been sitting doing a lot of these things. I've been trying to pretty up the graphics a little bit here, trying to make things a little bit more professional so that when eventually things go back to normal, everything is just boom, boom, boom lined up for me, and I don't have to spend a lot of time on it. Or either that, or I impress everybody so much that everybody just wants this to be my day job, and then we can just make it even fancier. Either way, I've been doing a lot of sedentary work, and I already had kind of in many respects, a sedentary job. I work in a practice, a clinic. I'm not rushing from bedside to bedside anymore. It's a game for the younger therapist, but what we were doing is at least going out and doing like tennis and stuff before work. But all the gyms are closed, all the parks are closed, and even if they weren't, it's snowing, so that's not it's difficult to play tennis in the snow, at least from what I understand. And so it's been really easy to get kind of in these lazy hibernating downward spirals again. And when you are already a little bit behind the eight ball with a lung condition, that can be even more damaging. That we tell people all the time, like a broken record, the best things you can do for your COPD, as much as we love meds and we love to dole out meds and talk about inhalers and all that stuff, quit smoking, get some exercise, go to pulmonary rehab. Those are the biggest things. Staying active, keeping your lungs moving and all that stuff. Those are the biggest things that you can do. And then you get into the medications and things like that. Jean Ramos, who is a researcher, a person with COPD herself, a tremendous advocate. One of the wisest things I ever heard came from Jean when she said, the medications help me breathe, or the medications help me exercise. The exercise helps me live. That's really where the improvements come from. Kim, the name is Ring Fit Adventure. Ring Switch. I think it's Ring Fit Adventure. Ring Fit. Yes, Ring Fit Adventure. Let's see. I know it's probably, I know they have them at pretty much, or they usually have them at most of your retailers if you're having, but I should also probably not promote people going out right now. Another thing that we're trying to not encourage, but wow, why is it $200 on Amazon? That is crazy town. What is the deal with that? Huh. Let me look here. So, wow. Pricing is really strange right now, it looks like. I'm trying to pull up, trying to hit up the old Walmart to see. Oh, it's out of stock right now, they're saying. Um, Normally more along the lines of the $60 to $80, which I know is kind of a chunk of change. But again, it's one of those things that you can kind of keep on hand. I mean, it's the gift that keeps on giving. Um, a less costly thing for those people who might be looking at something fun to do, something like Just Dance. I know this is another thing where I don't know exactly how Just Dance works. I assume it also has to do with the controllers. I know I have seen in other, like when we had the Xbox, the older Xbox that has the Connect feature that kind of has a camera on it. You had to make certain moves and dance in certain shapes and all that kind of thing. I think Just Dance probably works similarly to that, but I can't say I quite remember exactly for sure. There's a fitness boxing game. You know, there are a lot of potential options. This Ring Fit Adventure kind of makes it a little bit more, a little bit less like a workout and more of like an adventure, because you're actually walking and your person on the screen is walking along with you, or you're kind of jogging and you have to jump and you jump over a thing. Or there are also, you know, because Nintendo usually does a pretty good job of being inclusive and recognizing that not everybody can do those things, particularly at the beginning of a workout regimen. And also bear in mind the official disclaimer of check with your provider before you start any kind of new workout regimen. You know, some of the things can be done with controls. So if you're able to, you know, move your arms very well, then you can do the things where you have to squeeze and pull and all that stuff, and the rest of it can be done with the controllers, with the buttons on the controllers. So you can really kind of customize exactly where you're at with the workout to make it more functional. Unfortunately, I still haven't been able to quite figure out how to get the screen going with the media here, so we can't quite watch what's going on. Unless, let's see. I'll try one other thing real quick here. Maybe will that work? It will not. So that's a bummer. And it's weird because it should be working, but I guess that's kind of famous last words, right? Things should be working. Things should be a way that they are. And actually, that's a thing that popped up in our Facebook group, COPD Navigator. Today we've got Dr. Maria, who is a researcher trying to develop some new tools to do evaluations with people at home with COPD, who was very, very clear, or very, very open about the idea that when she talks to a lot of her physician friends and her academic friends, you know, you get this idea of this is what should be happening with COPD discharge planning and admissions and all that kind of stuff, readmissions. But that's usually not quite the same thing as what's actually happening. And so she was looking for some folks who are willing to potentially share their experiences, again, on both sides, clinical and patient-centered, for that experience. But, you know, the idea that there is a big disconnect between the things that should be happening and the things that actually are happening. And our challenge is to put that forward. Cherie points out that YouTube has, I'm just trying to get rid of the settings thingy here. There we go. YouTube has lots of yoga with breathing techniques. Yes, absolutely. And I think, as a matter of fact, two of the videos on here, one of them is beginner's yoga, chest opening with Tina Clark from a group called Inspired Wellbeing. And now I will disclaim that I'm not affiliated with any of these groups. Nobody paid to have them on the list or anything like that. Although if somebody would like to pay, we can certainly talk about that. But these are things that I did go through, and I looked through them. They had good reviews. They seemed to be pretty practical from my perspective. They weren't really trying to sell anything. They didn't seem to be too disturbing or anything like that. So there's beginner's yoga there. And there's also 8 Tai Chi breathing exercises from a gentleman by the name of Sean Kennedy, who, if I want to say, that might actually be a fellow RT, as a matter of fact, if I recall correctly. Trying to remember exactly what his gimmick was. 8 breathing exercises, Sean Kennedy. Let's pull up his profile here if I can. Boy, Microsoft Edge is even slower than Chrome, so I don't want to. Well, I'm gonna have to go to a different screen for that. So all kinds of fun stuff in the famous tech world today. Okay, so let's see. Sean Kennedy, what do we know about you? So he does a lot of some martial arts stuff. Got some kung fu things going on. Oh, so it looks like this is sthellenskungfu.com is actually his formal website. But there are some other interesting things that he can do. He does for kung fu and tai chi and all that sort of stuff. So. Yeah. So check that out. Check out the whole playlist. Look for YouTube or yoga, tai chi, chair exercises, chair yoga. There's a lot of things that you can do. There's a lot of things that you can do with improvised things. Like, I don't have any soup cans down here right now, but you don't necessarily even need hand weights or anything like that. Soup cans, jugs of water, bottles of water, that I do have. I mean, this doesn't seem like much, but if you keep doing curls throughout 5 minutes or something like that, you will get some resistance out of it. Preferably you would want to use something more like a gallon or something like that, of course, but everybody's upper body is a little bit different. While I have it, might as well do a little refreshment there, right? Oops. So I want to jump back real quick, and Kim was saying thanks, so look for it. My granddaughter will probably like it if I get to see her again. I am confident that we will get to a time, and this was another question that popped up today in a different conversation earlier today. Had somebody asking, from a healthcare perspective, when are we going to get back to normal, or at least some of this stuff? And we do need to be careful about that because, as cliche as it sounds, normal wasn't really working for a lot of folks, particularly in the healthcare system. It has led to a lot of issues and all that. So we need to be cautious about what we want to look at as normal. But because this is a great time for process improvement also. But when we get to the idea of when are we going to be able to start seeing each other again? When are we going to start, being able to be social again, in-person social? Hopefully, we're still maintaining some social connections online and through web, interactive web conferences, things like that. It's a little bit hard to say. We're in an interesting place right now in Michigan where we just had within the last week or so, we had our stay-at-home order extended through the end of the month. We also know that in New York, New Jersey, I think maybe a couple other states out east, their stay-at-home orders have been extended into mid-May. In Wisconsin, the stay-at-home order, I don't know that it's quite as strict, but is going until the end of May. I suspect that we in Michigan are also going to be seeing that before too long, into May. I know that there are some groups that are already saying, we plan on it being a lot longer. I know that there are certain practices and things like that that are saying, we've got the stay-at-home order until the end of April. Unofficially, we're probably going to be going longer. We don't really have a set date to go back to normal. We will get there, but it is going to be a little bit of time yet. I'm still very hopeful that we'll have a fairly normal summer. I believe Dr. Fauci from NIH has also been pretty confident and pretty hopeful about that. I think we're going to get there, but we have to be very cautious that we don't set ourselves up to fail in a second round. If we take this too easy and we start getting back to real life too quickly, then we're at very high risk for having a second wave of infections, and that's not going to be good because we already have stress. We've got stressed out caregivers, we've got stressed out clinicians, we've got stressed out supply chains. We don't want to get that in the second round. So first off, I've been neglectful and I did not say hello to Karen. So hello to Karen for checking in today. Very much appreciate seeing you again. It's been good to hear from you lately. And John mentions that several Midwestern states have all banded together in order to plan a structured reopening. Yes, we've seen that in a couple of spots around the country where there are, I believe, New York, New Jersey, there's some of that New England area is working together. The West Coast is banding together. I believe California, Oregon, and Washington State are all working together to figure out what the best time is going to be, and that really makes sense because the argument is there shouldn't necessarily be a one-size-fits-all solution, and I think from an intellectual, objective standpoint, that's probably a fair thing to say. We do know, I talk in the respiratory circles, we know that there are places that are having their absolute doors blown off because they're running 100, 120, 130 ventilators on 4 ICUs, and they're 20 staff members short on a good day, and they're just getting demolished. And then we also know that there are parts of the country where people are getting laid off because everybody is in anticipation of this big wave. Everybody has done this planning, and they haven't seen the same kind of surge that other regions have. So it probably makes sense that there's going to be this kind of stepwise approach or a regional approach with a little bit of variation. And we can't necessarily look at, if I'm in Michigan, I can't look at Arizona off the top of my head and say, well, why can't we do that? Why aren't we doing that? Well, because Arizona is a completely different state than Michigan is. We have completely different demographics. We have different climate. We're a different size state. We have different numbers of people. We have different healthcare infrastructure. We have so many different things that it doesn't necessarily make sense for that national solution. It's good that we have regional authorities who are working together, who are willing to collaborate and willing to make good decisions for that regional area, because the regions are much more closely tied. Our demographics and our systems are much more closely tied with Wisconsin and Minnesota and Indiana and Illinois and Ohio, even though we seem to be a little bit higher up on the number of cases and all those sort of things as those states. Our future is going to be much more closely tied with this region. And so it makes sense that we have a regional decision that isn't being imposed on us or enforced on us or any of those things. So it's good, as John points out, that we do have a lot of these Midwestern states that are banding together to do the right things for their region. And that's probably going to be the best solution going forward. And I'm glad to see that happening. So also hello to Maria. Thank you for checking in today. Appreciate it. And I'm glad that people were able to overcome some of the weird stuff at the beginning here. Still don't know what happened to a couple of the tech things. And then one thing was just me forgetting to turn off one of the microphone feeds. So that's always fun having that nice little echo here. But as we get down toward the end here, I want to put out a couple of different things. We're going to have a little bit more fun next week. I'm looking at doing a little bit more fun stuff in addition to the great information and discussion that I hope you have come to expect from the COPD Navigator network of shows and media. One thing is, you may have noticed that my fingernails have gone very bland again. So we're going to be doing, we're going to get another makeup going as soon as I can convince Emma to do that. Do that. And I think this time we might even have a little bit of a poll. I figured out some of the Facebook polling software stuff, and maybe we can see what color my nails should be, just to get folks get their minds off some of the more serious stuff in the world. Also, as I mentioned, we're going to be doing where I have noticed that the whole lip sync thing is a big deal again. And if you go to our YouTube channel, and I'm going to throw this link in our various sources also. If you go to the YouTube channel and you go back to a couple of years, for the month of November in, boy, I want to say that was 2016. But we're going to go back and look here. Where are the other playlists? There we go. 2016. Yes, indeed. In the month of November, throughout the entire month, and then I was also able to bring in some of my family members. We did a thing called Lip Sync for Lungs. And we raised a couple $100 for the COPD Foundation by doing a lip sync video every day and encouraging people to donate what they could to the COPD Foundation. And we raised, like I said, raised a couple $100. It wasn't the we weren't the biggest fundraiser by any stretch, but it was still nice to be able to contribute. We did one every day, which I was also rather proud of. It's hard to stick with a thing every day for an entire month, especially when we're talking about media and all that. We got to do the recording and still have a day job and all that kind of fun stuff. So, but we're going to try to figure out how we can reintegrate the lip sync feature with some of these lives here. So I don't know, maybe we'll do, again, a little bit of a voting here, or we'll just have a little bit of fun with it. So get ready for that coming next week. So we've got the manicure, we've got some lip sync for lungs coming back. We've got what else are we gonna do? We're still looking at doing some kind of Zoom conference. If you have some interactive questions, just having a little bit of a place to hang out for a little bit, kind of a virtual happy hour sort of deal going on. If you have other ideas, I would absolutely love to hear them. We've got, like I said, we've got at least another 2 weeks together. And so I want to make these resources as good as I possibly can. If I'm doing something wrong, I want to know about it so I can fix it. If I'm doing something right, I want to know about that so I can double down on that. But I want to make these resources the best they possibly can be for the COPD community. So I appreciate everybody spending some time, as I said. And I really would like to hear your input on a lot of this stuff. And if you know of anybody who would also have some input or would like to contribute, or wants to have somebody to yell at, wants to have whatever we need, please share this with them. This doesn't grow. I can't do this without you folks. I mean, that's what it really comes down to. I cannot. I tell my folks in the clinic all the time, I can't fix a problem if I don't know what it is. I think I know from my research, I think I know what problems are in COPD care and in the COPD community, and I think I know what I can do to fix them. But as Dr. Artendwaga was mentioning earlier today, we have our own bubbles. I don't know. I don't know what the issues are because I'm not looking at it from the perspective of somebody with COPD. I can't look at it from that perspective. I can try, I can guess, I can do those things, but I can't know what that's like. So I depend on everybody else out there to tell me what I need to do. I am willing to do whatever you need me to do, but I need to know what to do. So please let me know. Karen gives me a vote of confidence for the lip sync videos. They were great, she says. I'm glad to see them again. Well, get ready because now I'm excited to bring them back a little bit. We can see if maybe we can do a little bit of a fundraiser or something like that for some kind of COPD respiratory cause. We'll see what's going on. I don't even know what's available right now with everything else, but we'll see if we can do some kind of collaboration. That would be fantastic. But even if we can't, we're going to have some fun, and we're going to do what we can to get through this whole weird situation together. with our sanity more or less intact. So last call for questions. We're going to give it a couple more minutes here because we did get a late start because we had, as I mentioned, we had some of those infamous tech glitches here a little bit. Tell me what you think about the new, if you love, if you hate, whatever you think of the new logos and such going on. Trying to do a little bit better job, trying to make things a little bit classier, as they say. Trying to make things just a little bit more user-friendly. Trying to make things connect with the theme. We've got kind of this whole the lighthouse motif. Let's see if I go from this side to, you'll notice that it's kind of like a beam of a lighthouse instead of the swirly things. It seems to maybe work a little bit better. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just a nerd. Kim, yes, could play the harmonica. Yes. Kim has been one of the most loyal and steadfast folks for our erstwhile Harmonicas for Health program in Kalamazoo. We've had a lot of ups and downs with the program. It's a great experience. It's just one of those things that we, for whatever reason in this area, just can't quite get traction with it. I know in Texas, Mary Hart was on the program yesterday, stopping by. She's done some great work with it. There's a lot of people in Texas that have done great work with it. Stephanie Williams, who has done some stuff with COPD Foundation videos in the last couple of days on exercise programs. Actually, I posted, they did a live stream yesterday with some of their exercise recommendations. So you can look for that either on their feed or the link that I posted on our Navigator page. Henny Youngman's bow tie. Thanks, John. In any event, John checking in with the Henny Youngman reference from way back. Have a good weekend, Joe. Take care of yourself. Take care of the ones you're with. So getting back to Kim's, she's been a very steadfast supporter of Harmonicas for Health and a lot of other COPD causes out there. So that is a fantastic idea. We will be breaking out the harmonica. We'll do that later in the week because maybe we can even do kind of a virtual Harmonicas for Health kind of deal and see what we can do with that. Maybe that'll even be the theme of our web or Zoom conference later on in the week. So I'll put this call out there and I'll put it out on the Facebook page too and in the group. If you have a harmonica, dig it out. We will put it to use next week. That is a fantastic idea, Kim. Thank you very much, and I will be sure to let you know when we're going to be doing that so that you can join in there. With that, we're going to end on a positive note there because that was a fantastic idea, and I want to run out on that. So I truly hope everybody has a great weekend. You stay warm, you stay safe, you stay strong, you stay at home. I know it's easy to say because I know a lot of folks with lung problems are isolated at baseline, and this is just another thing, another stressor on top of it. But try to find, I've heard my wife, I probably shouldn't say this too loudly, but I've overheard my wife say a couple of times to a couple of different people that she's been doing visits with, find one thing to laugh at every day. Not just a chuckle, not just a smile, but try to give yourself a good belly laugh every day. Find something. YouTube's great for that too. Try to find something that you're entertained by and give yourself a good laugh. Limit some of the negativity that you're taking in, whether it's on social media, whether it's on the news media, whatever it is. Try to limit some of those things or you're just going to drive yourself crazy. And then, like I said, make sure you're getting that good belly laugh in every day so that we can share what's making each other laugh and get through all this together. So thank you, Karen. Appreciate you again. It's my pleasure to do whatever I can because I can. So on that note, I hope you all take care of yourselves, take care of each other, keep breathing easy. Have a fantastic weekend, and we will see you next week starting Monday. We'll be here all week, 4 p.m. Eastern Time for COPD Navigator House Call. Until then, I am Mike Hess. Have yourselves a great weekend, and take care.